All right, so we're at part 2 of our episode on new faces, new places.
New faces, new places.
As we coined it last year. But we're talking about running backs, tight ends, and quarterbacks that were drafted, the rookies here that have landed in favorable fantasy football opportunities for your teams this coming draft. Let's jump into it. So let's talk about a couple running backs here. One running back that I think both you and I, we can't even argue that is probably one of the best opportunities is going to be Trey Benson.
Yeah, I've had a couple conversations about running backs this year and new faces, new places, all these the new homes for the rookies. There's not a ton of running backs that I love.
No, I agree
from a rookie perspective. Benson is probably going to be the only guy I really think has an opportunity to take a true 1B situation,
yeah,
I guess.
That's what I was going to say, 1B, because I don't think Connor's going anywhere.
I don't think Connor's going anywhere.
I mean, Connor had fantastic yards per rush in the past couple seasons.
Connor was their offense.
He has been for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
He's on the last year of his contract, which is why I like him, so specifically for Dynasty. And I think for best ball, because I think Connor's, you got to understand, health has not been a greatest for his track record. So you get an opportunity where you're going to have maybe 2 or 3 games this season where he's a starter.
Yeah, I mean, he missed a couple games last year and no one stepped up. It's one of the reasons they went and drafted a guy like Trey Benson. He was available. I think he is very pro-ready, and he doesn't have a lot of usage under him. They had multiple guys in that offense last year that they used, so he wasn't like some of these other running backs that came up that were having 250-plus carries last year. He didn't have that. He was very effective. He's a lightning in a bottle. His breakaway. He's another guy. I watched like a whole Florida State mixtape today on like all their touchdowns.
To me, that team, everybody's like, oh, they were so overrated. So no, I don't think they were overrated. You know, you lose Jordan Travis, that hurt big time, number one.
Yeah.
But like that team pretty much gave up. They sat everybody in the game against Georgia.
They won the ACC championship with a third-string quarterback.
Yeah,
that's how good that team was.
To me, I think both Georgia and them should have both been in the college championship. They would have been this coming year based on the change of the rules. But Florida State got shafted. That team bowed out of the game against Georgia.
Yep.
And Georgia did what they do to teams like that aren't that strong without their starters.
I mean, how many Florida State players got drafted this year?
Oh my gosh, like across the board, defense and offensive side.
Just so many.
So and it's a shame that they just didn't get into that top 4.
And he has such a great landing spot here in Arizona. I think he fits this offensive scheme really well. I think he fits with what they want to do.
And it's a young offense now.
Yeah, Connor is going to be the guy there this year. But I think that, if anything did happen to Connor, Benson is a guy that could take over the workload.
He could be a league winner if that happens.
He could be a league winner if that happens. So as a late round handcuff to Connor, this is a guy I'm definitely grabbing.
Well, I even think he'll work himself into that third down role more often than not because, Connor's a great pass catcher.
Yeah.
And he does great things with the ball. But again, like you're on the last year of your contract with Connor. You've got a new kid coming in. You have your second-year tight end, a second-year wide receiver, a first-year wide receiver coming in. You have a lot of youth around Kyler Murray. You got to see what you got, too.
Yeah, you're going to see what you got, and this is a team I think that has a chance to win now.
In that division?
With the youth that they have, they're going to – and I said this last year. I was like, they're going to surprise a lot of people. You have weapons now with McBride. You have Marvin Harrison. Like there's real weapons.
McBride's ADP is actually like
it's crazy high.
It's way too high, but it's
crazy high, but I think it's worth it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, again, we talked about tight ends, and just for another episode when we get closer to the draft, the tight end group is bigger from what it is, but
but I still think he's
his
worth
is
it.
High.
Connor's a guy I absolutely love.
Every year.
This year again, I love him. And he really is an every down back. He's one of the few every down backs still left in this league.
But to me, he works better. This is not a fantasy note here. He works better as an every down back. He's a guy that needs to get into a rhythm.
Yeah, but it's and they use him that way. Like this isn't like a series for Connor and a series for Benson. Like Benson's probably, if Connor's healthy, Benson's probably going to get 5 or 6 plays a game at the running back position. for the first half of the season. I think that as the season progresses, running back's really, really hard to evaluate coming in because there's so much clear talent from a running back from like the college level, but there's so much more that they ask you to do at the NFL level.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work yourself into a starting role, a pass down role, or like even a break back, a change of pace back, you got to be able to do everything.
Pass block,
catch the ball,
I'm with you.
Be explosive and have the vision. Benson, I think, was one of the more well-rounded running backs coming into the draft. But I think that he does have that kind of breakaway speed to really solidify himself as a playmaker in this offense. I mean, like, think about Keaton Mitchell last year. That's kind of the role I think he has. The Achane from last year, except not as who thought Achane was going to go off like he did in the games with 7 touches a game.
Yeah, but you're right in the fact that he's playing behind a veteran who's successful and plays well. But I think he's going to get opportunities and he's going to capitalize. I think that's what it is. That's what I like about him.
That's what I think Benson's role is going to be. Like, I don't see him having more than 7 or 8 touches a game. But with the opportunities that he has with those touches, I think he has the explosive ability to, if they get him in space and design plays to get him involved, he could be hugely explosive.
Yeah. Well, here's another guy that I think is going to be on the same boat as Benson, and that's Marshawn Lloyd. Because he goes into an offense that is young. He goes with behind a veteran running back that's Jacobs, who is a 3-down back, who dealt with some injuries towards the end of the season. Zamir White ended up taking over the rest of the season. They just sat Jacobs. But I think, to me, Marshawn Lloyd, he was ranked pretty high in terms of preseason rankings. Again, the running backs in this draft weren't like mind-blowing.
So Marshawn Lloyd probably was the best. Well-rounded running back coming into the league, and another guy that doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. But I don't see him taking any kind of work away from Jacobs.
No, but the thing is,
and Dillon.
I definitely think from Dillon. I think he overtakes Dillon as a number 2 because what do you need Dillon when you have Jacobs? Dillon doesn't add anything to Jacobs' game.
Well, you're going to spell Jacobs with Dillon, and then as a 3rd down back?
Yeah,
they use Jaden Reed there.
But to me, Marshawn Lloyd fits more of your Aaron Jones type of player who has good speed ability, can run between the tackles, but also is good outside of the tackles and catching the ball. I think eventually, yes, it's a 3-year, $30-something million for Jacobs. Am I saying he's going to beat out Jacobs? No. But do I think the opportunity is better for him and in Dynasty in the long term? Yes, because they may not have to keep Jacobs for all 3 years. And do I also think that not for best ball purposes, but for a last 2 rounds of the draft to grab him, because if something happens to Jacobs, I think he gets the ball ahead of Dillon. That's why I say he's ahead of Dillon.
I'm not sure about that yet, and
that's what I think.
And the reason being is I think that as an every down, as a 1st and 2nd down back, if anything happened to Jacobs, Dillon's going to be the guy there, and I think Marshawn Lloyd is going to end up being a 3rd down back at that point. But they use Jaden Reed in such a dynamic way.
Yeah, that takes away from all the running backs there.
It takes away from all the running backs, but it takes away from, if you're already a specialty running back, it's taken away from your already limited workload. I do want to talk about one guy here that I love in Dynasty, but I hate everywhere else, and that's Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have his name on our list here, because Brooks, in terms of, plus he's coming off an injury, but I love him in Dynasty.
So in Dynasty, he's the best running back in this draft.
Yeah, and he should be, because the opportunity, because for a second Chuba Hubbard's going to take a backseat to him, and Miles Sanders is gone.
Yeah, So his ACL tear from last year was in week 11. Is a late season ACL tear.
Even if it was early season, running backs coming off ACL tears do not come back to the same full force, even though they test like they are.
It takes about 18 months to get there.
Yeah, they have to trust themselves again.
And so I don't think he's going to be – I don't think they should utilize him this year. He's not going to be a first half of the season guy this year.
I don't think they should play him this year.
I don't think they should play him either. But like
I don't think they're going to win a lot of games anyway.
Right. And again, it goes back to Carolina where we talked about, earlier that I don't like this offense as a whole. But next year, when Jonathan Brooks takes over,
yep,
he is going to be a workhorse.
Yep.
He is a monster.
Yep.
He is big, physical. He has speed to break away. He is the old school style every down running back that you drool over, which is why I think Carolina got a steal. But he's coming off a devastating injury. He's coming off that ACL injury late in the season. He's not going to be ready this season. The reason I wanted to bring him up is because I've seen his name come up on these, again, air quote experts, mock drafts on saying how he's going to be the best rookie running back this year. I'm like, he's not going to play this year. What the hell are you talking about?
There's not a chance. But dynasty-wise, he
Dynasty-wise,
will be the best rookie running back
sure.
for Dynasty.
Draft this guy.
I agree. And you can maybe the last pick in your best ball draft if you want to throw a flyer out there if they happen to play him. But even if he comes in, he plays like the last 5 games of the season, you're not getting game-breaking games out of him. Like he's going to get a little bit of experience at the end of the season. That's it.
They're going to give a little taster to him.
Yeah. They're going to Salt Bay him.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Fraud.
Well, let me talk about my favorite running back from this draft. In terms of value. And I honestly think there's a role will be carved out for him here, and that's the Purdue running back, Tyrone Tracy Jr. to the Giants. Ex-receiver turned running back, pretty much an Antonio Gibson type of player. And we know how Antonio Gibson was used. He could be used all over the place. I think this is going to be a big returner opportunity for the Giants, which is great. But he does stuff that Devin Singletary and Eric Gray cannot do. And I think he jumps the depth chart in front of Eric Gray behind Singletary and gives the Giants that opportunity. He's a strong running back. He can pass protect. He can catch. And you can put him out wide to do a 4 wide like you do with Kamara, like you did with Eckler and those other respective teams. And that's why I like him, because the Giants, they're not going to be great, but they're going to score more points this year than they did last year. I guarantee it.
They're not going to be competitive this year. What I do like, though, is that for the first time in 4 years, Devin Singletary is going to have every down work, and he's the most. I think he's a top 5 most efficient runner in the NFL over the last 6 years. And so I think he's going to have every down work. I think Gray is going to get teased in a little bit. I think that Tracy Jr. is going to started to get work in. But what was Singletary's contract? A 2 or 3 year deal?
It was like a 2-year deal.
2-year deal.
But the reason why I'm not sold on Singletary, and this is my reasoning. He played in Buffalo where they weren't a run first team, so he had draws. You had to literally go ahead and protect your defense against Josh Allen and the scramble and everything. So like running opportunities opened for him. And was he good? Yes, like he was. Look what he did when he went to the Texans. How long did it take him to get any sort of big games going? And he had a couple chunk during the season, and then it tapered off again. Yeah. And he started the season worse than Dameon Pierce, which I don't know how you could have done.
I'm not saying that I love him.
No.
I'm just saying he's efficient enough.
He was in Buffalo. And he had some big games in Houston for sure, but he was very efficient in Buffalo, and I think that was based on the offense and the weapons they had there. You go to New York, like, look what Saquon had to deal with. And Saquon was making people miss. Singletary can't do that. But Tracy Jr. can. I don't think it's going to be like, yes, I think Devin Singletary is the running back 1 there. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be the Devin Singletary show in that backfield.
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, I think that they're going to give some other guys work. I think Eric Gray is going to get his work. And I think that Tracy Jr. does have a chance to come in and take some touches away. Again, I'm not overly hyped on this offense. I don't love, and from a dynasty perspective, you're going to be able to get him late enough to where, you might get some value in return in a year or two. It's all dependent on, like, hey, what does DJ look like? What do they do with DJ after this year? And what does this offensive look like? I think that this is a better offensive line than they've had the last 2 years. There's a plus to that, but I don't think from a running back perspective, if it wasn't Saquon Barkley, do I want a piece of this? Like, I'm afraid to take Neighbors.
I'm not afraid to take Neighbors.
I know he's going to get volume there, but I'm afraid to take Neighbors there because I just don't think this offense is going to be very good. And so
I think it's going to be better than people think.
Yeah, there's
like 2 years. Here's the thing: 2 years ago, threw a wrench in everybody's expectation for the New York Giants. We should not have made the playoffs. We shouldn't have won a playoff game, and we shouldn't have scored points the way we did. Last year was what should have happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We took a step back in terms of everybody's eyes. We didn't take a step back. We were right there the whole time, the same time. We just happened to be better than some other teams and played better some other teams. And last year we played exactly the same and got beat because teams played better than us. This year I think we take a step forward. You've got 3 young wide receivers. You've got a young running back here too as well. Whether it's DJ, who now has his best wide receiver core, you can argue, for the first time in his career, or you put Drew Lock out there, who we know has an arm that's at least going to he's going to try to throw the ball 100 times in Neighbors. And if he catches it 80, so I think I don't think it's a lose-lose situation.
Right. So then again, it brings you back to then Tracy might have more of a role if they're behind in games. Or
that's what my thought process is.
And there you might like him a little bit more. Again, he's a guy that is so far off my radar in terms of drafting from a fantasy perspective.
You don't even have to draft him in redraft. Like, he may not even be drafted in redraft at all. So, and I don't think.
I'll tell you one person that is going to get drafted in redraft and is going to be and should be drafted even in Dynasty is Braelon Allen.
Oh yeah,
with the New York Jets.
Yeah, well,
because they are going there are so many pieces here. He is a physical freak.
I love him. I just didn't like his landing spot.
I love his landing spot because they're not going to ask him to do a ton, and they're not going to ask.
Correct.
And with Brees there, now you have a great secondary option as a running back to spell him so that all the work is not on Brees.
Yes.
And so Brees, I think, is fantastic. He still should be the number 2 running back off the board behind McCaffrey.
Yes.
His ceiling takes a little bit of a hit because I think Braelon Allen, from a goal line work and a short yardage work, is going to get a ton. I think Braelon Allen could end up having multiple, from a best ball perspective, I love him because there could be games when he has 2 touchdowns because he's going to get all the goal line work because he's a freak.
Yeah.
6'2", 245 at running back.
Listen, I loved him going into the draft. I just wanted him, I thought he was going to fall into a better opportunity somewhere.
Yeah, if he went to Dallas, would I love him more? For sure.
Gosh, I would have loved that.
Like any running back room that was not solidified, even the Giants, he would have been.
If he went to New York Giants, oh my goodness.
But I think people are either they're having 2 ideas about the Jets running back room. Either they're devaluing Brees because Braelon Allen's there, which is dumb. They shouldn't do that.
That shouldn't be the case.
Don't devalue Brees. He's the second best running back in terms of fantasy in football. Or what they're doing is they're saying Braelon Allen's not going to get any work there. But he is. They're going to use him. They're going to use both Brees and Braelon Allen.
But are we talking 80-20?
Who cares?
But I'm saying this is not like an Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon situation.
All right. Did you forget that Jamal Williams had 19 touchdowns 2 years ago and was a top 5 fantasy running back with barely breaking 1,000 yards?
Yeah, but do you know why?
He was getting volume there on an offense, on a high-powered offense. The Jets are going to be a high-powered offense.
because DeAndre Swift couldn't stay on the field that season.
Okay. Well, if anything did happen to Brees, you have a guy in Braelon Allen that can take a lot of the workload. He's an underrated. The Wisconsin didn't ask him to be a pass catcher. He's a good pass catcher.
Yes. But I think Brees is just as good, if not better.
Brees is better.
So, exactly. But I think
I'm not saying he's taking that work. What I'm saying is, from a touchdown perspective, in PPR, he's not going to be great. But from a best ball perspective, I think Braelon Allen is a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on because of his situation and who's in front of him.
I agree because I'm sleeping on him because of the sheer fact that Brees is in front of him. If it was a little bit more looking like it was going to be a Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon situation, I'd be more excited about it. And it could end up being that, which would suck if you draft Brees Hall so high up.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, I don't think even that. I think Brees is another guy.
But they're not going to run the ball. Like they're going to utilize Aaron Rodgers too. They're going to run the ball hard, but they're not going to run the ball like they were in Green Bay when they weren't sure about those guys.
Gibbs Montgomery last year. They're not going to have a split workload like that. But
No.
But Gibbs Montgomery, and they threw the ball, and they had Amon-Ra, and they had Laporta. Like,
so you really think he's going to get? They're not going to get that split though.
they're not going to get that split.
They're going to get the Dillon Jones split.
They're probably going to get the Dillon Jones split.
But probably worse.
But Allen's going to get goal line work, and I think Allen is a lot better of a goal line back than A.J. Dillon is. A.J. Dillon, the quad monster.
But is Allen better goal line back than Brees Hall is?
No, I mean, the Brees Hall is still good there, but I think from a short yardage perspective, you bring him in. I see
like look at the argument. Like, do you think
I see a path where Braelon Allen can have over 10 touchdowns this season?
That your bold prediction?
That's my bold prediction.
Okay, you heard it here first. Braelon Allen, 10 touchdowns this season.
10 touchdowns.
Doesn't matter the yardage. Doesn't matter the touches.
I don't care.
Just
10
touchdowns.
Yeah.
All right. So episode 1, we had a great. The part 1, we had a great one.
Yeah.
For Troy Franklin. Now you get.
We got the running back bold
Allen.
prediction out of the way.
Well, let's move on to the tight end position. There's not much to talk about here as well. You really had Brock Bowers, who we're not putting on this list. Do I love where Brock Bowers went? No,
Nope.
But they have him. You're gonna have to use him.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about Brock Bowers when we do our tight end ranking episode,
And when we break down the Raiders.
and when we break down the Raiders,
we'll
talk more about
break
him.
down the divisions and talk about the Raiders too. But there's a couple tight ends here that I do like where they went. And my favorite one is Ben Sinnot. Like going to Washington, he's behind a veteran in Zach Ertz. So he can learn a little bit from the game at the start of the season, but Zach Ertz can't stay healthy. Zach Ertz is an elder for the league, so he's not going to be on every single snap. Sinnot's got bigger size than him too, so he's got blocking ability. He's a great position to end up as the lead tight end for Washington by midseason. And on top of that, this passing offense could really lend well to it because they didn't add weapons to the wide receiver core. In fact, they lost one.
Yeah, so this is a really good landing spot for him. I think Washington is a team that likes to utilize their tight end. They get a quarterback that is mobile enough and dynamic enough. The one thing that I will say with Jaden Daniels is that he's kind of he's not an improviser. He's not a great improviser when he's on the run.
No, he just
When
runs.
he makes the decision to run, he's going to run.
Correct. It's not Pat
which,
Mahomes.
Which hurts the tight end position a little bit. Maybe he evolves into that. Maybe he starts emulating his game after Patrick Mahomes, where he starts keeping his eyes downfield, and once he makes the decision to run, it pulls that first layer forward and opens up that next layer, which would be the tight end. If he could start doing that, the tight ends are going to feast here. These short yardage guys are going to feast here because Jaden Daniels does have the ability to break off plays. He is a big running threat, and he has a strong enough arm to stretch the field. There's enough playmakers still on the outside that you're not having to key on the middle of the field. The middle field is going to be dominated mostly by tight ends. So this is a really great position for him to, again, learn off of Zach Ertz on how to be a dual threat tight end, right?
Yeah.
How to be a good blocker.
Ertz at one point was one of the best to do it.
He was one of the best.
We were drafting Ertz before Travis Kelce back in the day.
Yeah. Before Kelce became a thing.
Yeah. So I just like Sinnot there. He definitely in Dynasty as a late flyer. Like you're not drafting a ton of tight ends in Dynasty, but he's one that I would like to keep an eye on.
Well, he's a guy that you go in, even in redraft leagues, when you go and draft like David Njoku, he's a great like second option.
Correct. That's what I was going to say.
We talked about that last year with like drafting tight ends. You know, if you don't get one of the top guys, just go and draft two tight ends, two of the mid tiers.
Because you can always drop them.
Right.
Like, and that's the next guy here that I like too is Theo Johnson.
Yeah.
And if Darren Waller does not come back, this guy, there's a path for him to jump Bellinger because he's more athletic than Bellinger. Now, Bellinger's a great blocker. That's why the Giants keep him on the field. And he can also catch the ball pretty decently too. He's jacked.
Yeah.
But Theo Johnson is bigger and he's faster. His metrics were off the charts. And if his blocking was more of the problem for him, so that's going to keep him off the field. But Darren Waller wasn't the best blocker. What kept him on the field was his pass catching ability, and that's what this guy brings to the table. And he is a can-do-it-all type of tight end. If he gets better in blocking, he may see more time than expected. They put third-round draft capital into him.
Yeah,
here.
This is a great talent here. I do like that the Giants went and grabbed a guy like this because, yeah, you know, if Darren Waller doesn't come back, or even if he plays for 1 year, from a dynasty perspective, he has a really good opportunity depending on offensively what they do. They need playmakers, period.
They're gonna find somebody. And this is going to be a situation for the New York Giants, we know Neighbors is a playmaker. They're going to get him the ball. Who's after that? Is it Wandale? Is it Hyatt? Is it going to be Theo Johnson?
Right.
That we don't know who that is yet. So I'm willing to take a chance on one of those guys, knowing that value-wise, you're getting them so late. One of them hits and you happen to be in there. Otherwise, you drop them. And this is, again, the same situation we talked about. You get Njoku. You get, one of the, like, another tight end that's similar to him, to me, is like Donald Parham. He's in a situation, the volume may not be there for Parham, but his targets in the red zone are going to be good. He's a great blocker, so he gets time out there. So Theo Johnson is a great supplemental tight end to sit and wait.
Yeah, he's going to be
an opportunity.
He's going to be a good relief valve. And we'll see. Like he's got to, if Waller comes back, he's got to earn a spot in that team.
Yeah, he still has to, Waller still has to play. Yeah. I mean, just because we're paying him doesn't mean we're playing him.
Right. So I mean, it's Waller and Bellinger right there. If he beats out Bellinger, then he's a tight end too. And what kind of role does he hash out there?
Yeah.
This year. So from a dynasty perspective, I like him. Redraft, probably not so much. I'm probably staying away from him over other rookie tight ends that are in similar situations. I would say.
to me, Sinnot is the number one rookie tight end, like in terms of situation. There's no tight end besides outside of Bowers. There's no tight end outside of Bowers that was heralded like it was the year before,
right?
With Kincaid and these other guys who we knew coming in, they were the guy. They were this. Well, Kincaid was behind Knox, but look at what Daboll did with tight ends in the past,
right?
And look at the opportunities. He understands that the offense is able to open up the tight end for benefits. That's why we went and got Waller, and it just didn't pan out.
And that's what I was going to say is, like, the way he's run his offense is like you spread the field on the outside, which they have the pieces to do. You spread the field on the outside, and all the interior and short stuff is the tight end.
And Wandale for our team here.
So this is a really good fit for Theo Johnson, but we'll see. He needs to earn that role, and we'll see in OTAs. We'll see how he performs.
Yeah. But I just like the opportunity. And then we're talking about opportunities here.
Yeah. Bellinger's a solid guy that I think he still needs to beat him out.
Well, he's still going to be there.
The big question mark is what's Waller doing?
Yeah, I mean my take with Waller getting divorced and the whole thing going on, like, if I'm him, I'm taking a year off if I'm even playing again. But we'll see. I mean, the Giants drafted.
We talked about retiring last year.
The Giants drafted a tight end in the first 3 rounds for a reason.
Right.
They don't have confidence that Waller's coming back.
Right.
And they have to have and they don't have confidence that Bellinger is going, because if they had confidence that Bellinger would be the number one guy, you don't bring Waller in number 1. And number 2, you don't draft a tight end in the 3rd round. You drafted one in the 5th round who there were still some decent guys out there.
Well, it was a big question mark that when they brought Waller in anyway. I mean, me and you talked about it at length. But
it was a mistake.
I mean, Kenny Galladay.
No, Kenny Galladay was a definite mistake.
Yeah.
Waller, if healthy, would not have been a mistake. But then everybody else, anyway.
We'll move on to quarterbacks. Again, short list here
for quarterbacks. If you guys have anybody that we haven't mentioned that you think has hit a great landing spot that you're willing to take a chance on in your redraft leagues or best ball or dynasty leagues, drop him down, because we want to chat about that too. And maybe we'll drop a short on our opinions on them as well, and shout out to whoever leaves us the comment.
Yeah, and maybe while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification.
Bing, bing.
Go ahead and do it. It helps us out. We love the content. We love the comments that you guys drop. So if you guys have any players that you are really excited, rookie guys that landed in some spots, drop a comment. We'll do some shorts on them. We'll talk about them in our videos. Make sure we highlight them when we do our team breakdowns.
So let's get into the QBs here. You got J.J. McCarthy, who we'll talk about first, that arguably outside of Caleb Williams and Drake May and the top 3, the opportunities they land into, you could argue outside of Caleb Williams, this is the best opportunity for a quarterback to go to. because of the weapons you have around you, the offensive mindset from your head coach, and the ready-to-win team that's around you.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason I think that he's not going to play this year.
Yep. Well, I mean, listen, it's not like you have a slouch starting ahead of you. I think you have to take a grain of salt about a quarterback drafted by the Jets that went through the ringer and is trying to come out on the other side. So, I wouldn't fault Broncos if they end up starting Zach Wilson because he ends up being what everybody thought he was going to be with the Jets. Same thing goes here with Darnold. Sam Darnold comes out and he was an accurate passer, had a deep ball, great pocket passer. Now the big there's
gotten confidence back.
Yeah, there's no difference between him and McCarthy. I mean, Sam Darnold was successful in college too. So in my opinion,
the difference is that Sam Darnold has played in the NFL.
Correct.
And JJ McCarthy has not.
Well,
and the thing and this is the reason why not only in best ball, dynasty, and in redraft I'm avoiding JJ McCarthy.
I'm not.
Well, I don't see a way that you can draft him in dynasty.
Why? How could you not?
Because unless there's an extension coming for from Justin Jefferson, do you have faith that this offense is going to be the same thing that they've been having?
You still have Hawkinson. You still have Addison, who was successful without Jefferson there. You have pieces and the defense, they lost the rusher, but they added people in. So you
had it with guys. You had it with a quarterback and quarterbacks that threw the ball.
Okay, yeah. Listen. I'm not high on JJ McCarthy. I'm high on his opportunity.
Yeah.
But this is my one point about his opportunity here, and you cannot argue this point. Kevin O'Connell is going to be on the chopping block if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there's a short leash on Darnold if he starts this season, or there's a short leash on McCarthy. But they're going to go with what they think is going to give them the best opportunity.
They can't give a rookie quarterback a short leash, and they start the season with him. Well, you can't do that. So either you're going into the season knowing it's going to be a failure.
That's what I mean. I didn't mean to say short leash for McCarthy.
This is why I don't think he's even going to start this.
Darnold has a short leash. You know that.
Sure. But I think that Darnold is going to be very capable of running this offense. This is going to be a really competitive division,
and this is going to be a pretty much or shit or get off the pot situation for the quarterback here if it is Darnold, because Kevin O'Connell's head is going to be on the chopping block. You missed the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years, okay? Then you did make the playoffs and lost to the New York Giants.
Yes.
So that's 4 failure seasons in a row with win now opportunities and players.
I mean, last year with the injury, last year the injuries that they had with both,
they still won games without Cousins. They still won games without Jefferson.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying they also lost games without both of them.
Yeah,
so they had both those star players, the quarterback and your best offensive weapon, get hurt last year for extended periods of time.
I just think
I can't trust McCarthy from a dynasty perspective, not knowing that Justin Jefferson gets an extension. And from a redraft perspective, I don't see him starting this season, and I don't see Darnold losing a competition to JJ
the good news is, in redraft, you should know if he's starting.
Right.
But I'm saying opportunity-wise, and this is what we're talking about today, is the people who've landed in fantastic opportunities that could yield fantasy benefits. He could be the starter. Game one. And if he is a starter, he has the weapons around him to succeed.
He does. I don't.
So let's talk about that portion.
Let's say
hypothetically he becomes the starter.
Hypothetically, he's the starter to start the season, right? How much do you love him there as a thrower? Was he asked to do that in college? And this is what we talked about him in the kind of preview. Is
but when he was asked to do it, is the argument we have to make?
He was efficient.
Yes. And listen, do I like Jefferson more with him as a thrower? I don't think so, because Jefferson is going to stretch that field a little bit more, intermediate downfield receptions. Same thing. I actually hate Addison more because of Addison was taking the top off of defenses. So Jefferson's going to garner the targets. Hawkinson's going to get his, and Aaron Jones out the backfield, or Ty Chandler is going to look great out the backfield. Addison takes the biggest hit no matter who's throwing the ball, in my opinion, although I think Darnold can get it deep to him. Jefferson will drop, but the opportunities are still going to be there. It's just you just need to be 85% of Kirk Cousins, and you get yourself into successful numbers.
Yeah, I mean, but again, Kirk Cousins in college was throwing the ball a lot more than J.J. McCarthy was. So how much?
Which is why I said Bo Nix would be a better fit in the Vikings.
Yeah, for sure. And this is and I love the landing spot for a quarterback for sure because of all the offensive weapons.
So that's why we got to bring his name up.
We have to because he was highly touted coming out of college, or at least in the pre-draft process. He was highly touted, and I never really understood why.
Harbaugh says him as the best quarterback in this class.
Sure.
His Harbaugh's high.
Sure. But that's his quarterback.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a coach saying that he's like, he's okay.
Yeah.
These 5 guys were better. He just wasn't asked to do it, so I don't know if he actually can, and I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up. Is he going to throw? All right, here's the thing. Is he going to throw for 4,000 yards?
No, but 3,500 is all you need for Justin Jefferson to have a good season.
Okay. So do you like him from a fantasy perspective if he's throwing 3,500 yards?
As a backup quarterback? As like a bench quarterback? No. But is he going to be my starter? No.
Right.
But
so how
I'm
much,
not saying...
So if that is your ceiling for him with Justin Jefferson...
No, that's the ceiling you're giving him. I'm not saying he's going to hit 3,500. I'm saying that he has the tools to be a 4,000-yard passer. If Sam Howell could be a 4,000-yard passer in Washington, if Kevin O'Connell is going to throw the ball that this team
but Sam
wants
Howell
to throw
was
the ball,
throwing for a lot more in college than J.J. McCarthy was.
But yeah, who has a better arm talent than Sam Howell? J.J. McCarthy does. So
yeah, I mean,
they didn't need to in college. Like that was just the thing. He didn't need to. It's the same argument.
At this point, I don't have the confidence in J.J. McCarthy. And once again, OTAs will run through.
Say, at the end of camp, if he's named the starter, would you have the confidence in him then?
Yes,
I agree, and that's what I'm saying too. If he's not named
the starter, I'm having a lot of questions.
Well, then I have confidence in Sam Darnold.
Right,
but the opportunity for a rookie quarterback.
Well,
outside of Chicago, this is the best situation you can walk into.
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, yeah, there's four players right off the bat that are going to be effective playmakers for you right now.
Yeah, without even taking a breath.
Right.
Let's talk about Bo Nix, because this is a guy who I said should have went to the Vikings. Yeah, I know he's older but his ability to play the game of football and learn from the amount of time he's played, which is why Sean Payton liked him, because he's played so much. His experience lets him go. I don't know how as Sean Payton, you could say that it translates to him being a starter right away in the NFL, but he had the arm talent to do it. He had the confidence in his arm. He had the ability to make the hard throws, and he wasn't doing it. I mean, let's be honest, McCarthy wasn't doing it with big time receivers either, but, he wasn't doing it with all but just like Troy Franklin, and McCarthy was doing it with just Roman Wilson. But he did it a lot, and he had a fantastic season coming from a terrible offense in Auburn, going to Oregon and making a name for himself again.
Well, and the thing I'll say about Bo Nix is in terms of college experience,
there's nobody better.
There's nobody better. I mean, he's played more in college than some of these quarterbacks coming out have played. He's played double the amount of time as most of these other college quarterbacks that are coming out.
Correct.
So he's been a starter for 6 years?
Yeah.
So he has the experience. He throws the ball a lot. He stays healthy.
Throws the ball a lot in Oregon. His time in Auburn was similar to what we saw from McCarthy.
Yeah, so he threw the ball a ton in Oregon. I think he has the arm talent for sure. This is another situation where I think that they reached on him. It's Sean Payton. He's stubborn. He's probably going to start him over Zach Wilson. I don't think that they should. Zach Wilson's already been beat up in his career. Let him kind of take the beating and let Bo Nix kind of learn an offense before throwing him in there. You're coming from an offense, and this is the we don't have to really talk about him, but this is my concern with Penix too. Is you're coming from offenses that were fully passing. They weren't NFL offenses.
No, well, unless you go to the Chiefs,
right? But who
or
aren't
Buffalo?
Really, yeah, but they're not really college offenses.
No, either. But they're pass heavy offenses.
They're pass heavy
that don't lean on the run.
So they're going to be more, and I think Sean Payton is looking to incorporate the run a lot more.
As he should. He's got great running back.
He's got the talent there. The concern is, A, are they going to be able to protect him? Because they struggled to protect Russell Wilson all last year.
Yep.
And they really didn't make huge additions onto that offensive line. So can they protect a young quarterback? And then how long is... I mean, for a guy with a big arm going to Denver, that's great because he's going to be able to freaking chuck the ball.
Troy Franklin,
I mean,
leads in receptions and yardage.
You love him there. But I think that he has the weapons. He has enough talent there with Franklin and Mims, the younger receivers, and then Cortland Sutton.
And having Javonte Williams come in a nice full year off of his injury,
right? Which
I think he's going to, don't sleep on Javonte.
Right.
This guy's going to come back to what we saw his rookie season in spurts.
And I don't know there's not really a rookie quarterback that I'm excited to take from a fantasy perspective this year. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels.
That's it.
That's
my list. I agree. And again, this list is not the best rookie opportunities because otherwise we'd be talking about Harrison and Neighbors in the first episode. We'd be talking about Caleb Williams and everything.
Right.
So those are the obvious ones. Let's talk about guys that can have a fantasy impact.
From an opportunity perspective.
Based on opportunity.
From an opportunity perspective, he's going to have the opportunity to A, win the job. But B, outside of that, I don't really love the opportunity.
But, dude, look at last year's quarterback situation. Halfway through the season, we had the most starters to ever start, different starters to start in an NFL season for quarterback. There's a chance that because he starts for Denver from day one, could finish in top 15 based on the throwing alone in terms of stats. Don't forget, Geno Smith was a top 5 fantasy quarterback just 2 years ago.
Geno Smith also had
weapons.
A lot of weapons.
So J.J. McCarthy can't be Geno Smith?
No.
If he's a starter?
Again, Geno Smith, a former Jets quarterback. Hey, we're talking about 3 teams in a row now.
Yeah.
A former Jets quarterback going to a new team.
What's the pattern?
With plenty of weapons around him.
Yes. Okay, I get that. But he also went to a couple places, just like Sam Darnold.
Right,
so Sam Darnold starts. I love Sam Darnold. But I'm saying if McCarthy is the starter, there's a pathway for him to be a top 15, top 12 quarterback.
Maybe.
There's a pathway because of the weapons and opportunity.
Maybe.
It's not like they've got a Saquon Barkley first year out of college running back there that they're going to hand the ball off 350 times to. They have Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. They're going to throw the ball, especially with Kevin O'Connell.
There would need to be injuries in order for JJ to be a top 12.
So we didn't mean to go back to JJ. Bo Nix, but same situation for Bo Nix.
Same thing. There would need to be injuries for him to be a starting fantasy quarterback.
But there's going to be injuries. There's going to be chance. What happens if the Dolphins decide to lean on the run just a little bit more this season? They could jump Tua. Okay.
But we had three top 10 quarterbacks last year out for the season.
Yeah. Yes. Who's to say it can't happen again?
I'm just saying, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, but I also think the opportunities these two guys have.
You also had Herbert take a dump last year.
Who's to say he's going to take a that big of a leap forward again this year? He may throw the ball less than Bo Nix.
I'm just saying there's other guys that had more weapons added to them that I like more, like Purdy.
But he's not a rookie. He's not a rookie.
I understand.
We're talking about opportunities, fantasy opportunities.
Not a rookie. What I'm saying is that I don't really love either one of these guys as being a fantasy relevant starter, or even a guy that I would want as a backup when I have.
I want Bo Nix as a backup.
All right, so go get your.
I will. I want him as a backup there. I want him in best ball.
I don't want him in best ball.
I want him at best ball, 100%. Want him in best ball.
All right. Do you like either one of these guys over Will Levis?
I like them equally.
Oh, shut the front door.
I do. I love Will Levis. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's being fluffed up. I would rather have J.J. McCarthy than Will Levis. I may say that. I'll say that right now. And this is
outside of Justin Jefferson. The weapons are better in Tennessee.
You think Addison? You think Calvin Ridley is going to be better than Addison?
I think Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, and Calvin Ridley is a better trio than Addison, Hockenson, and Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
And I think Levis has a better arm.
Levis has a cannon.
Right.
But we're not asking for a cannon. We're asking for an accurate passer who, by the way, McCarthy actually does have a very good arm. They actually did in the combine. They had the passing.
Oh, did they? You know who did that too? Zach Wilson. He has a very good arm.
No.
Very good arm talent.
Yeah, he was throwing deep chuck up balls. He had a pretty good arm. But they did. I don't remember if during that draft they did the velocity test where they're throwing the football on the wall and measuring out. Like they showed, obviously, Milton had an absolute howitzer.
Yeah.
But J.J. McCarthy, I think, was second in that. He's got an arm. He's not bad. But again, yes, he wasn't asked to throw a lot.
I said this was J.J. McCarthy, and we can move on from J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix.
We can move on from Bo Nix to our final guy. But
I'll say this with J.J. McCarthy, and I already said this.
I hate you.
If he wins,
I hate you.
Hey, if he wins the starting job there, I like him a lot more, and I would draft him.
Yeah. And that's what we're saying here is
out
opportunity,
of camp.
right? Yeah,
out of camp.
Opportunity
Not
wise.
If he ends up being the starter week 4.
No, he's a waiver wire ad at that point, or he's your last pick in the draft in your keeper league like ours, like situation. Because our keeper league, for everybody who doesn't know, we'll explain it at one of our episodes.
We've been saying this for a year that we would explain it. We'll do an episode.
Yeah,
on it.
It's a short-term dynasty. It's a dynasty.
Short-term lease.
One of our league members, Kris Kane, calls it dynasty light, and it is dynasty light. It is in a way, kind of, for 2 players. Bo Nix, another situation. He wins it out of camp. I like him. I'd draft him as my quarterback too. If I got one of the top guys.
I read that more into him being now Jared Stidham and freaking Zach Wilson rather than winning the job.
Okay.
Again,
there's only so many. I'm
taking Will Levis over both those guys.
I'll take Will Levis over Bo Nix because of the weapons he has, but I'll take J.J. McCarthy if he starts the season over
I'm taking Jaden Daniels over both those guys.
Well, yeah, because he's starting.
I
say Caleb Williams over him too. But again, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't fall to you in the draft. So I think what are you going to do?
I mean, C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence. I'm like, again,
you take Josh Allen or you take Pat Mahomes. You take somebody early like that. All right, you're telling me you're going to try and go grab C.J. Stroud then on top of that?
No, probably not. Maybe.
No, but again,
I've done it.
But Jaden Daniels may be too high up for your ADP at the time, and same with Caleb Williams. So you may end up sitting there being J.J. McCarthy's a starter, and he's sitting there for me in the 9th round, and I don't have a backup quarterback. 10th round, I don't have a backup.
You're taking Geno over? You're taking both those guys over Geno?
Yeah, Geno took a very big step back last year.
He did.
So, and I think I'd rather take a chance on a
guy.
You're
taking Purdy? Either of these guys over Purdy?
No, I like Purdy.
Right.
But Purdy's going to go higher than these guys.
Jared Goff?
Again, going to go higher than these guys.
Okay, but now we're getting into the 15, 16, 17 range.
No, those guys, because those guys are 10th round guys. Those guys are going in the 10th round.
Okay, so they're going to be available there if you go and get Josh Allen in the first.
Again.
So I'll go and get Jared Goff. If I go and get Josh Allen early on, I'll go and get Jared Goff in the 10th round and be happy with it.
Yep, but I'm just saying, okay, hypotheticals. You're only taking J.J. McCarthy if all those guys are gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There would probably have to be 15 or 16 quarterbacks gone before I'm even thinking about taking a chance there.
All right. You heard it here. I am more of a light believer. Again, if he wins it out of camp. Bo Nix, I do like. I wish they reversed themselves.
I'll take Aiden O'Connell. I'll take Aiden O'Connell over both those guys.
I would not. In my opinion, if J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix swap teams, I think they would be better off.
I'll make the argument right now that Aiden O'Connell has a better situation than J.J. McCarthy.
If J.J. McCarthy starts the season?
If J.J. McCarthy.
And Aiden O'Connell starts the season?
Yep.
All right. Right now?
Right now.
There you go. That's our bet. J.J. McCarthy finishes at more fantasy points than Aiden O'Connell if they both start the season.
Yep.
All right. Final guy we'll talk about here is just purely dynasty. Pure dynasty here. And if you are in a dynasty league and you're in a rookie redraft for that right now, you better go grab this guy. Kris and I alluded to it before, but Jordan Travis has an opportunity to really be an impactful player in the NFL. Go watch his tape. He only broke his leg. It wasn't a bad ACL tear. He wasn't like he was injury plagued his whole career. He lands in a great place, similar to where Jordan Love was, where he gets to sit behind a veteran for a little bit and learn. And he has the tools to be a starter in the future. Yes, that injury derailed the end of his season, but that injury also derailed his draft stock on top of it.
Completely.
And then honestly, with Wilson and the future weapons with the New York Jets, like Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be playing as long as Tom Brady. He even said he doesn't want to be playing as long as Tom Brady. So there's an opportunity in 2 years. He could end up being the starter. 3 years, he could be the starter for the New York Jets. And you've got Malachi Corley, Garrett Wilson, maybe the tail end of Mike Williams' career, but still, have Breece Hall, you've got Braelon Allen, and now you get in a situation where you've got a very good Jordan Travis that learns behind Aaron Rodgers. Oh, and by the way, it's the second Jordan to learn behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and so the biggest thing here is that because of the injury, he's not going to play this season, and he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to, and this isn't. And he's probably not even. He's not the number 2. They have Tyrod Taylor.
Well,
so he gets to learn from 2 veterans, not just a Hall of Famer.
I think Tyrod Taylor is the best backup quarterback in the NFL.
So you get to learn from a backup quarterback and a Hall of Famer. So you're sitting behind both those. You're getting drafted into a really good situation, building a really good culture in New York. You have a young defense that's very, very good. Mm-hmm. You have young offensive playmakers that are very, very good. And in 2 years, this might be the starting quarterback and the face of the franchise for the next 10 years.
Yeah, because this is
what the Jets haven't done in 20 freaking years.
Yeah, because what have they done? They've taken the top 3 picks with the quarterback and threw them right in there.
And they throw them right in there. And now you have an opportunity to, what I think, it was a top 3 quarterback in this draft.
Yeah.
And because of the injury.
Without the injury. I think he goes to the Patriots if he wasn't injured.
Yeah, for sure. He probably could have made a push for the Heisman this year. They would have been in the national championship.
Yep.
And we would have been talking about Jordan Travis a lot more if he didn't break his leg. And again, no ligament damage. He had a broken leg.
Yep. Clean break.
And so he had playmakers around him. He had a good defense. The Florida State culture was good. They asked him to do, it was a very pro-ready offense. So what they asked him to do, he's mobile enough. Think of like Alex Smith is kind of how I view Jordan Travis.
Except he is like Alex Smith, but he reminds me, his running ability is better than Alex Smith.
Well, Alex Smith was mobile.
Yeah, but I think you watch, there's just a clear difference between his speed than Alex Smith. Like he looks like, Jordan Travis looks fast when he's moving.
Yeah.
He looks fast.
He has a good deep ball. He's a smart decision maker. He made multiple reads in college. And they asked him to do a lot there.
Yeah.
And
he did it.
And he did it.
That's the difference.
And this is a fantastic scenario. This is something that, again, I wish more teams would do, is draft a quarterback for the future when you don't need to, right? If your team's really bad and you only won 2 games and you need a quarterback, the whole team's bad. The quarterback is not saving you.
No.
And if he does, he's like a freak, but there's still clear holes. You're not going to win a championship like that. And you risk so much of an opportunity, both like from a draft collateral standpoint and from like a cap salary or a cap hit from drafting a quarterback in the top 3 picks.
Yep.
So
I mean, the only added benefit is you get that extra 5th year, and you could dump them, let them walk after that. So you get that extra money out of them.
Sure, but with the way the young quarterbacks are playing right now, if they're playing well, you get them for cheap for.
You're going to see the same thing happen with defensive edge rushers and wide receivers. You already saw it this year. Edge rushers, wide receivers are being drafted more in the first round with quarterbacks because of that 5th year option is so much more valuable because of how much you have to pay those players now.
Right, exactly. So if you're in a dynasty league, 100,000% draft Jordan Travis.
Yes.
And Ladd McConkey.
And again, Aiden O'Connell is not going to outscore. Here, just shake it out one more time.
Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Not taking 2 minutes of me.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to our part 2 episode here. Stay tuned. We got more and more stuff coming through. I want to talk about some more best ball opportunities. Maybe throw a couple best ball drafts in here. We get our old friend Nick Lambros, little Nicky, in here to do a little best ball and a little talk about that, since he's such a big best ball and DFS guy. He's got some expert analysis that he wants to bring in here. So tune in next time. And as always, thanks for showing up.
See you guys.